Welcome, everybody. My name is Benson Juarez, and I am super excited to have Rotty Garcilazo as my special guest today, the founder and owner of the Rehab Depot. We were just chatting. Rotty is doing a lot of really cool stuff in the construction space. He's been in the business for many, many years. He's done and been involved with thousands of flips and construction projects. And he's essentially the construction expert here in the US. And so I'm super stoked to have you with me, Rotty. Appreciate you taking the time. I know you're super busy.
No, I appreciate being here, man. And like I said, shout out to Jessica. You got a good one, dude. She was on my ass almost every day forever. So good for her. Good. You guys have a good teammate and a good asset there.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking some time. You were just telling me about this amazing service slash
Yeah.
product that you guys launched, and tell us all about it.
Oh, okay. So it was a brain fart in this office about 4 years ago. I had this idea of, how can I help the industry even further by offering, you know, more project management, but less of me. while I
Yeah,
was
you're
at
not you're not very scalable as a person, right?
100% not. And even if I got five of me, it's still not scalable. And I said, well, the industry is going towards technology. I built a SaaS platform and sold that last year. So I'm familiar with development. You obviously are familiar with tech and development. And the way the industry is going in general, you look at politics, you look at supply chain issues, you look at money issues, you look at the economy and interest rates and inflation, and you just start looking and say, okay, that's here to stay. Where's the opportunity, right? Where's the play? What do we do? How do we adapt, right? Because everybody else is going to go stick their head in the sand, and real players like us are like, opportunity. You just got to figure out what that opportunity is. So
Yep.
a few years ago, I knew that we'd already been virtually rehabbing. We've done that for over a decade. Being contractors first and foremost out of Chicago, we were flipping in other states. Naturally, part of that was virtual. And we've always used technology anyway to project manage. So again, we're technically virtual. So I said, if we offer this as an actual service, what does that look like? What does it cost? How does it work? Which is my responsibility to create that before I can delegate that. So about 2 years ago, I said, we're going to do it. I already have everything. I had the infrastructure already set. I'm already rehabbing that virtually anyway. So I'm like, I already have the infrastructure set. I just got to sell that and make it a sellable service, which means I got to make people believe that they can flip from across the country. Right.
Right.
And then I had to get the tempo of the country. Is like, well, how many investors are actually living in North Carolina and buying in Tampa, or live in Tampa and buying in Indianapolis? And I realized it's 50-50. Everybody and anybody, it's a game of opportunity, will buy anywhere they possibly can if they had boots on the ground, if they had trust. Yep. Right. So I said, well, that's there. I said, so now we got to just figure out how to make that happen. So we started off centrally, like here in Chicago in the Midwest, which is our bread and butter. Then we went to Florida and kept doing this. We officially launched this service in March of this year, literally 6-7 months ago, right? Maybe 8 months ago now. And in the first month, we had over $1 million in contracts signed. And when I say $1 million, I say contracts equivalent to construction. So we had two investors who sent us the equivalent of $1 million worth of construction projects. So that's rehab budgets, right? Construction budgets. So we had about, I don't know, 25 or 30 projects that came up to about 100 and like 1.2, 1.3 million in construction. I was like, wow, okay. That was month one. I didn't market, right? This is all word of mouth. A buddy of mine, I started putting out some, me doing the content that we do. I started putting that out saying, oh, virtual call center coming, dedicated project manager coming. And it was already here. We were already been doing it. So a lot of my friends in the industry, our friends, were like, hey, they call me and say, how does it work? I have projects, blah, blah. So I'd explain to them and say, listen, I have a form. You fill out the form. It's like a property intake form. It comes to us on a call center. We look at that. And in the form, it's basic questions. Address of the property. What are you trying to pick it up for? Acquisition costs. What do you think your rehab costs are? What's your exit strategy? Rental, flip, turnkey, whatever. What do you think the ARV would be? What do you think your rent rate's going to be? And then do you have subs in place? And all these different natural questions that anybody would ask. We get that. And it also asks for pictures and videos and any information that, as much possible, right? We get that. It's like 10 questions. We get that back. We look at it. We do our diligence. We've got our boots on the ground in most cities. We have our relationships with agents in most cities. We have, we just know from flipping thousands of houses as a contractor, I can literally look at pictures and videos faster than anybody and say, oh, okay, I know what to look for in the Southeast with water damage and hurricanes and heat. Right. And I know what to look for in the East Coast with the freezing temperatures and the way houses are built there. I know what to look for in the Midwest because we have basements and all the water issues and the flooding and drain tiles. Like, that true experience is very, very real. You don't learn that in school. You don't learn that anywhere. It can't be taught. And we were teaching this forever, but you still need to get into that basement, so to speak, to look around and go, yeah, these walls are buckling, or yeah, I can smell moisture, or yeah, I see water stains, which signified there was water at some point in the basement. So all of these experiences we kind of put together as an offering. So when we look at the job form, it's easy as 1, 2, 3. We look at the form, we do our diligence, we send you a budget. And you tell me like, okay, my property is, we think it's, my budget's 50K. Listen, like I know, every investor is going to hit you with a number that's not going to be real. Like, I've never agreed to anybody's number ever in this world. But it gives me a starting point of where I know they'd like to be. That's all the number. That's all we actually need the number for, is where I think you need to be, because mathematically that's where you're formulating your return. I got all that. But we come in realistically, and it's a big bonus, A and B. I'm going to tell you the reality of what the budget probably is going to be closer to. And in our budget, we break that down so a lender can literally rip that and give you a loan, because we budget it down by exterior, interior, and MEP. And then we budget it down by the main points: demo, drywall, paint, rough, and then, flooring, and then bathrooms and kitchens and appliances, exterior, roofs, windows. Like, we break it down. And it's either a 0 because it doesn't apply to that job, or there's numbers in there, and it all comes out at the bottom. We also have, money allotted there for permitting or for dumpsters, and then project management fees. And then we have a separate column on our form that says possible change orders. Nobody does that, right? We tell you and the lender and anybody else, any other partner, private lenders, what your possible change orders are for. So if you say, Rehab Depot, my budget is 50 grand. I go scrub it. My team goes and scrub it. We're like, no, you're more like 65.7. And we just send you a budget. We're not going to explain it to you. We send you a budget that tells you why it's 65.7, along with your possible change orders. How well informed can you possibly be? There's no other way to be more informed, because we're telling you this is where you need to be, right? And then here's your possible change orders. You might want to have an extra 15K on the side. Now, with that said, that one is like, okay, I can, as an investor, you'd be like, I can do that. Those numbers at 65.7 or 67.5 work. I'm good with that. I'm still going to take the deal down, which means you can take that deal down in minutes. So I tell investors, take my form, save it on your phone. You're walking the property.
They're filling this out even before writing an offer sometimes.
100%. I say, don't write an offer until you take my numbers. We prefer it from infancy, right? Like, literally infancy is like, it's like right now, Benson, if you gave me a property off Privy and you said, what do you think this rehab is? Watch me in less than 10 minutes while we're still having this conversation. I'll be like this, doing this, and I've got my computer. I'll be doing my diligence, and I'll say, you're probably at like 55,000. Tell your buyer that.
I've seen you do that before, right? You're working that.
But
you've been able to get others to do it for you, right?
I got a whole call center of project managers, but these aren't virtual assistants. These are real project managers. Like, they're project managers who are retiring, ex-GCs who are retiring. They're all American. I have stay-at-home moms that I can easily teach the aspect of what we're doing, because they're not the boots on the ground. They virtually are oversight and facilitating what we should be doing. What should we check on? Because we're working with you and your team as the investor in the company, right? We're working with the lender to help underwrite. So it's like, that's a big bonus when investors can look at a deal right now and say, shit, I wish I could lock this up, but I got to go find a contractor to give me numbers before I lock it up. You send it to us, we'll tell you within minutes, you're at 65.75. You lock it up, it comes right back to us for management, right? So it's one of the craziest models that's ever been created in this industry. But more importantly, my thing is, sure, we want to take every property possible, but our biggest value add, in my opinion, the biggest plug I can give of myself and our company, is that we could tell you when to walk away. So you don't take a bad deal. If you tell me that your budget's 50 and I'm telling you it's 76 all day long and you can't afford that, it doesn't make sense, good, walk away. But at least
too, this might change their offer price, right? So if they realize it's 67 and they were thinking it'd be 40, they're like, okay, I need to put another $27,000 discount on this thing to make the numbers work. So they're submitting the right offer.
And if they can't do that, then they can walk away. But either way, we're telling them, essentially, here's your risk, bro. Like, 50 would be great, but you know what you didn't see that we know is that house is built on brick footings because it's in Alabama. And nine
Right.
times out of 10, when we're doing our flips down there, we know that those footings are like this and they're buckled, which means you can't see it from pictures, but we know that's a problem. We need at least
Mhm.
$6,500 to deal with that. Right. So it's
So
the
at what
things that
point?
they don't see that we facilitate and help them understand so that
Yeah.
they don't buy a lemon. And if they still can try to make the deal work, like you said, go back and renegotiate.
Yeah. Renegotiate it. So at what point does the person, like the boots on the ground, get involved here, right? Because you can only see so much through photos. And then of course you've got some local market intelligence and experience that will help you know those things about Alabama. But someone needs to go in there, like you said, and smell that basement to see if there is water and notice those other things that
Right.
aren't apparent from pictures.
So a couple things, great questions. Like I said, it's 1, 2, 3. One, the form. Two, the
Mhm.
budget. Then you lock it up. It comes back to us. Three is now I have my crews locally, or we end up hiring and vetting crews wherever the zip code is, obviously, and we send them there. And they do a virtual walkthrough with our project managers. Like they'll either use FaceTime or through our software, Moxo, they can schedule a video conference call on the site. So no matter what, we're still validating our numbers because while you have diligence time, whether it be 15 days or 30 days to close, we can go back and say, okay, if we told you lock it up at 65, 75, we finally go back
Mhm.
and say, okay, let's look at it. We say, you know what? The whole floor is buckling. Can't see that from a picture. That's going to cost an extra $8,000. So we're doing the diligence again so that you still have the time to walk away. So we
Yeah.
do have guys that go there, and it's usually the crew that's going to get the job.
So sometimes people are coming to you and they're asking you to put together these numbers and they're not getting these deals, right? They're
Right.
getting outbid, or they just submitted some crazy price, that just is unrealistic. Are you charging for these initial scope of works or budgets? Is there a fee for that initially?
No, but there will be. So that's why if you're doing it now, now's the time to do it because we are going to start charging $50 a budget.
I
Because the
think you need
reality of
to.
what's happening here, and I can kind of go around that question in a good way,
Yeah.
is I would say our close rate using us is 85% plus. Anybody who's going to bring us a deal, they're probably going to close on it. They're going to put it under contract. Very few
Hmm.
times have I told people to walk away from a deal. And the ones I've told to walk away from a deal are the clients I've had for a long time, right? So right now I've got a client that sends me 2 properties a week to scope and budget, and they lock them up. I mean, you look at that, that's over 100 properties a year, easily, right?
Yeah.
So because of that, I'm not charging them that because 9 times out of 10, we're closing those deals together,
Right.
right? But if you're a one-off guy that I don't know, right? Because we sometimes we get forms in from guys I've never heard of, but I've been in the game so long that nowadays it's simply a referral. It's like, I sent this guy, he's part of my mastermind. Or I sent this guy, he's one of my students, or I sent this guy, he's learning from me. Cool, great.
Yeah.
So I've got some credibility there to know that they're probably going to do volume soon. So I'm not going to charge them. But when you get the wholesalers, I charge wholesalers all day long because they're not there to rehab it. They're there to get accurate numbers. So because of
Oh
that,
yeah.
I'm charging for my time.
So $50 if a
50
wholesaler
bucks,
had.
$50 takes us 10, 15 minutes per budget. I'll put it to you
That's
this. I even
that's
prove it.
money well invested for a wholesaler so they can get their numbers right.
This is texted to me about 30 minutes ago. Gives
Hmm.
me a synopsis and an address, right? Gives me an address in Sebring, Florida. And he tells me 1,000 square feet for rental or flip, your choice. Cosmetic updates needed. Update kitchen, bath, flooring, blah blah. HVAC is there. Needs a new unit, but the ductwork is there. Add drywall, ceiling, stucco, blah blah blah. Hoping to be under 4,500,000 because it's only 1,000 square feet. Great intel. I literally
Yeah.
opened up the pictures and said, "Yeah, you're good. 4,550. Lock it up." Like that's how fast that is, and that's one of my full-time clients who sends me deals all damn day.
Oh yeah.
So my point is like once we get a rapport and we have dedicated project managers that'll work with everybody too, once they establish that relationship, it could be that quick where I mean you're having lunch and going, no, bro, 45,000 will never cut that. You need like 75. What are you talking about? And that helps them go, cool. I'm forget that one. I'm gonna send you another one.
Yeah.
That changes, we're about to change, and we are literally changing the way real estate investing is going to be done for rehabbers. Because now they have a true resource to come to and be like, I need numbers. Here's your number. All right, well, I need management. Bring it back.
Well, it's one of the biggest things that holds people from even submitting offers is they don't know how to even calculate, the construction project, how much does it cost for materials versus labor, all the other things you talked about, like the contingencies, just in case there's they have to, you figure out something's bad and you got to go and you have to get extra materials, or, maybe you didn't realize that something was happening until you took the walls down. You're like, oh my God, there's mold everywhere. Like we got to,
100%.
the budget
100%.
changes like by 10 grand or something like that. So,
You know,
so fix
oftentimes
and
we use,
flippers.
but oftentimes we use the same listing agent that you're trying to get the deal from, right? So
Yep.
if Benson is buying a property in Tampa and he's using, I don't know, Cindy, right?
Hmm.
I can say, who's your listing agent or who are you buying it from? And you can say, here's the agent involved. I'll be like, make the intro. I'll get the agent involved. Every agent in America wants to learn this business anyway. So
Yeah.
A, it keeps them in the game, it keeps them making money. Two, and three, they're learning. They're more than happy to go take pictures, dude. They want the deal on both sides of the fence. So it's really just leveraging relationships and who you are. Our brand is our brand, right? So if I
Right.
say, hey, listen, you know, Cindy, I know you're working with Benson, but guess what? There's 100 other Bensons in Tampa too. Why don't you be my girl? I'll throw you a couple bucks every time I need pictures. She'll go all day long for me.
Oh
So
yeah.
if I have a client that's buying in a hot market, like in North Carolina right now, right? We don't technically have boots on the ground in North Carolina, but I have 3 sets of investors who are buying there. Kind of gives me a reason to set up there.
Yep. But also too for that agent, I didn't even think about that use case. This is now like a value add to the services they provide to their clients. So when they're out there marketing themselves as an investor friendly agent,
Yeah.
they can be like, yeah, we also partner up with the Rehab Depot.
And that's why
And
we won the Power Partner Award, bro, because we're good at bringing people together. That's the idea. Do you know how many people we can bring into one transaction and everybody's winning because they all want to be a part of that transaction?
oh
I
yeah.
will leverage the people you know for your deal. I'll say, who do you got? Do you have subs? Do you like them? Yeah, we'll use them. We'll just put them under our management. Do you have agents that you like? Yeah, great. We'll use them. We'll just put them under our management. So really, it's turnkey, hand construction to us. I tell everybody in America and around the world now, consider us your construction company that you never had.
So what if there is a whole crew on the ground where there's a GC in place or subs, everyone's there. Is
Mm.
that you're still overseeing teams like that too, where you don't have to be like the main GC, like they got their guy, and then
So
you don't
we're
have to
not the
do as much?
GC. Yep, great question. We're not your GC. So when you hire us, we're your national construction manager. Even though we are
Mhm.
GCs, we're going to hire subs and other GCs smaller to fall under our umbrella, which means we're going to be
Mm.
getting their copies of their insurances, which means we're going to be providing lien waivers for payment. We're going to represent you. That's what we're here for. All the shit that nobody wants to deal with, which is everything in construction, we then do. And that's why we charge 12% of construction. Sometimes that's a lot for people. Sometimes that's the best blessing they could ever afford, right? They're like, yes, here's your 12, handle it. You know,
Oh,
we get
anybody
people that
who's ever
call with
done a
stop work
construction
orders.
project would look at this and be like, I've lost way more money by trying to do it myself
Yeah.
and going back and then GCs taking advantage of them and then like giving them costs or timelines or things that are unrealistic, but they don't know the difference because they've never done it before. They don't know what they
Mm-hmm.
don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But your people know what flicks and flippers don't know. And so they
Correct.
can call the GC on their BS when
Mm-hmm.
they're telling them that there's things that has to be done, that they have to pay for this, pay for that. And, it's taken 6 months and it should only take 3 months. That's where you
100%
guys can
without
help
question.
out.
100% without question. And I think, even our project managers, we all run into situations that we're A, not familiar with, or B, are complex. It's construction. So in the event that they run into a jam, I have private conversations in my software with just them, so we can talk about certain things. We meet once a week, and I say, hey, listen, we have our weekly pipeline meeting like any company. I say, what are you guys seeing? What are challenges you? Can I answer anything? Is there something I need to teach you? And we talk every week. There's something. That's the reality
Yeah.
of the business. Every week we're all learning something new. Every investor brings us a new challenge and a new property in a new area.
What's been the response from general contractors who aren't used to this oversight, right? They're used
They
to doing
don't they
things
don't
their
see
own
it any
way,
different.
right?
They don't see it any different, to be honest with you, because they don't. You and I and the investors and the lenders that hire us look at it this way, right? The contractors just see, oh, okay, that we're their property manager.
Okay. So property manager, project manager, they're not really thinking of you as like, um, big brother, watching everything that they do, but, honestly, and this might be good too, because a lot of these GCs, like they're in it to take advantage of people. Like they don't want their clients understanding the real budget and the real timeline so they can make more money. And then they'll upsell like material costs. Like they'll be like, oh yeah, this is how much a piece of wood costs, and we're going to add 10% on top of it. And you know, the flipper won't know the difference. So that's like a standard part of the business, right?
There is. It is. I mean, markups and GC fees and overhead expenses, those are all part of the business. I think over the years, and I taught this for a long time, I think over the years, there was something about that being kind of taboo. or they thought it was illegal, or they thought it was fraudulent, or they thought it was wrong. And the reality is that's how the business works. And because you don't know that, it doesn't feel right. And we used to say, like, you have to understand there are different line items in there. And yeah, there's markups for time. There's markups for going to the store back and forth. There's markups for having to be the one that procures permits and deals with architects. Like, that's time. It's no different than how attorneys charge. That's why they have retainers, and that's why they charge by the hour, because some contracts or court cases or dilemmas or whatever, they take time. And oftentimes it's more time on the diligence and preparation than the actual execution. You know what I mean? For us to set these projects up, we have to look at the numbers. We have to look at what sub A needs to make to get it done, and sub B needs to make to get it done, right? And then we try to negotiate on your behalf to say, okay, I get all that. I'm here. We all want to make money. We get that. But we act as like that bridge, like that liaison, where there's trust on both sides. There's trust from Benson's side, and then there's trust from Benson's contractors. So we try our best to just leverage all of that.
About, we're talking about markups, right? And there's kind of a way of the industry. GCs do things a certain way. Markups is a thing that just happens, right? Like, they're able to do it, and it's not necessarily nefarious or like
right
backhanded, right? And that's part of what you guys understand. So, what is the typical process for after they submit the form, right? They submit the form, you guys give them the okay, they submit the offer. Then they decide so the deal's under contract. Do you go back and do like a more specific scope of work, like a very detailed, like, okay, here's all the materials you need to buy, here's how many pieces of 2x4 you need to go get, and here's the kind of tile you're going to buy? How does that work?
Okay, so we have options. So sometimes we'll do with the investor. So we do have an onboarding call. So after we obviously lock, especially the first time, if it's the first time, like if Benson's new to us and you send us your first deal and we budget it and you lock it in, then we have a simple agreement that's good for a year. And then we have an onboarding call. We do this. And I say, okay. And the project managers do the same thing with their clients. And we have a call and say, hey, okay, talk to me about, your company. What's your volume? What'd you do this year? What are you trying to do by the end of the year? What do you want to do next year? Where are your target markets? What's your average rehab looking like? What's your ARVs on average? What's your rents on average? And we get to know each other a little bit more. And that's where we talk about, like, okay, would it be easier if you guys handle materials and we just hire the labor? Do you want us to do both? And then we just kind of facilitate the need, right? So if you're like, well, I've always handled materials, or I've always just had the all turnkey budget, we'll work with all of that. Obviously, the biggest thing here is, Benson's getting an indirect education, because the questions we're asking is for a reason. And then the way we facilitate a scope, you get a copy of it. You're going to learn. The way we do budgets, you're going to get a copy. You're going to learn. The way we do contracts and negotiations, you're going to hear about it. You're going to see it. You're going to learn. The way we manage in our software, you're going to witness it. You're going to participate. You're going to learn. So there's so much there. So naturally, we'll make recommendations. I'll say, you know what? This isn't that large of a rehab. Why don't you guys handle the materials, and I'll help facilitate the draw process on that. And I'll say, hey, we can help you create a design board, so you have uniformity all across the board. And we could say, hey, on average, the materials for your full bath is $2,400 in materials, and your half bath is $1,800 in materials, and your master suites that are a little bit larger might be $5,000 in materials. So if I could say, hey, on average for a 1,500 square foot home, for kitchens and baths and paint and drywall, your average price tag is like, I don't know, $17,000, $18,000. I would say, why wouldn't you control that cost? I'll go deal with the labor, which means we control over half the budget, me and you, and we protect the money. So there's always ways that we offer that advice. And I'll tell you 100% out of 100%, every investor said, do your way, do whatever you think is best. I've honestly never had an investor to this moment say, no, I want to do it this way. They literally, and I tell them, I'm like, you hired us because of our expertise. If we take the time, me or my project manager take the time to explain a process, it's probably because we see an opportunity where that process might work on project A, but it might not work on project B. And that's kind of knowing the market. It's knowing supply chain issues. It's also knowing maybe that current contract that we have on staff or on contract. We've got contractors that are flipping houses for multiple investors because they're in that market. So every investor has a different avatar. Every investor has a different color. Every investor has a different type of house. So, but we have the same kind of contractor. I'm like, listen, you're dealing with Benson, Cindy, her project's totally different. I'll tell you about Cindy later. You know what I mean? So we always offer that to you guys to see like what works best for you, because oftentimes it comes down to how things are funded as well. if it's hard money, we have a lot of restrictions, of course. That means you better have a pot. I tell them, like, I hope you got cash because we need to keep moving. We ran into that issue today, as a matter of fact, where our crews in Mobile are moving faster than the draws can come. That's a problem.
Mm. Oh yeah.
And I tell them, I'm like, listen, you guys call us because we can move. You need to come up with the money or we're going to move on, right? Because I'm not going to piss my contractors off that we built relationships with, because your hard money lender wants pictures when we've been supplying pictures all day long because they have an app they want to use. We should have known about that for the contracts were signed, and you should know how that works. That's not on us. It's your loan, not mine. So we do have these dilemmas and we do have these conversations, but ultimately we work it out. But I'm telling them, like, you can't be delaying projects by a week or two, because what we may have invoiced for was, let's just say 15,000 2 weeks ago. Now we need 30,000 because we got 2 extra weeks of work done. So what you invoiced for, you better re-invoice again. So there's a tremendous learning curve using us with the investment side, because now they're realizing, like, our job, I guess I'll put it this way: if our focus is work on construction, that's all we're doing, which means we're moving things. Where if it's Benson who's working on acquisitions and managing construction, you are going to have those gaps because you're not paying attention to either one 100%. So that hiccup might work for you because there's going to be a delay because you're delaying it yourself. But if we're operating at 100% and you are like, oh shit, I don't have the money for the draw, I've got to invoice the lender, that's not our problem. But it's going to become your problem. Because if my guy's like, fuck this, we're out, I'm not fighting him on that. I don't have time for that. We have to go look at the 265 other projects we're managing. So we put that in our agreement. Like,
but inevitably that's going to happen because a lot of these people don't know the difference and they don't plan for that. But that's what the initial consultation is. When you do that onboarding, you're telling them up front, like, we can't have these draw issues. But that actually brings up a good question on the lending side of things, right? So a lot of people use their own lender, but you maybe have a relationship with a lender who you can be like, yeah, use this lender because they understand the process that we use. And it's going to be way more streamlined. Are you implementing stuff like that too, where you have like preferred lenders and you can help your clients out with that? So it's just a better process.
Yeah. So we create relationships naturally. So we have relationships with the biggest hard money lenders in the world, because we've been scrubbing we do a lot of their budgets for them on the lending side just to underwrite anyway. And then usually that borrower who's submitting for a loan comes to us for the management. So it's kind of like recycled. It's nice. So yes, we have those resources, but we're starting to tap into companies like yours. We're like, dude, we can supply budgets all day long. So we have the same thing where we're talking to all the different platforms, disposition platforms, every company out there that's supplying leads and things like that. And I was like, listen, supply the leads with rehab numbers. It's a no-brainer, right? We'll recycle that relationship as well. If they buy it from you, they're coming to us, but they're going to come right back to you for the next deal. So oftentimes our resources are happening because of our relationships that are already in place, right? And then I just say, hey, let's just keep it here, right? So everybody that buys from you, send them back to us and we'll send them back to you. Anybody that wants to deal with RCN, send them to us, we'll send them right back to you. So the relationships are very this is a free-for-all type industry. It's an opportunistic industry. Everybody wants to buy a deal. They don't give a shit who it comes from. They just want to make it work and make money. Right? Where you and I have to work on the relationship aspect of it, because there is a lot of competition in your space. There is a lot of competition in the hard money space. There is a lot of competition in the private money space. There isn't a lot of competition in my space. I'm it. So I'm always trying to forge those resources on purpose, saying, listen, throw the ball to me, I'll throw it back to you. Throw the ball back to me, I'll throw it back to you too. Like, that's the way I try to operate as much as possible, because it benefits the borrower.
Yeah.
We share the same client. We just serve them in two different ways.
Yeah. I can see the lenders really liking one of their borrowers using a company like yours, because it helps to mitigate the risk, and like there's less things that'll go wrong on a construction project. And that's why lenders are so they'll change their rates for like a first-time investor. Like it's this much, it's a higher rate, it's higher points, it's a lower percentage of ARV or LTV on the first couple deals. But if they're like, yeah, I'm coming with the Rehab Depot, they did my scope of work, they're handling management of the process. So the lender might be like, oh yeah, well, we'll lend to you now. And you know what? We won't charge you 5 points up front because you're working with Rotty.
Right. And actually that happens more often than you would think, where, I'll introduce a client to another client, right? hard money lenders are my client. You'd be my client. So it's like client to client relationship, business to business, right? And I'll introduce somebody and say, hey, I've looked at their project. I think they can get it done for 65. I know they haven't done more than 10 in their career, but I'll pass it on to you. And more often than not, it helps in the underwriting process. We're like, well, if you're working with Rotty's company in the Rehab Depot, you have a higher probability of success than without him. So the risk is more minimal, So there's a lot of leverage there. 100%. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. I can see that being a natural progression of this too. And I think that's for people who are listening to this and watching this, like this will help you get deals through underwriting more quickly.
Yes.
It'll help you get better loans, better loan terms. And also, this might be the difference between a lender wanting to work with you and just saying no altogether.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of first-time flippers, like they would require you to go and be like, we have to work with somebody else. You'd have to have like a contractor on staff, or they would, I remember there was some lenders who are like, we'll work with you as long as you're part of a coaching program. They even went as far as that. So this I can see would definitely help people get those loans with better terms. And then also too, like obviously the goal is to lower the risk, try to prevent some of those things that are coming up that make construction projects just go sideways, like unexpected costs, supply chain issues, delays, overruns on price. Those are all the things that you help them fix.
I agree, dude, without question, brother. It's when I look at my roster of the properties that we're managing now, and I'm thinking about all the processes it takes to get them, because there's still a massive construction process to this. I mean, we're talking about like the front end of like locking the deal, get the Rehab Depot involved, budgets and all that stuff, and then finding subs and contractors. But the reality is we still have to manage that virtually. And to be honest with you, for a lot of my clients who are like in the Southeast, right now we're hot in the Southeast, right? And I'm talking about like Dallas down to Miami, up to the Carolinas, and that whole triangle. I'm talking about all of Alabama, Louisiana, all that stuff. So because there's a pocket there, right, where I have 100 properties, right, it's worth my time to then take a trip every other month down to the South and kind of just bounce around and check on things, which is a huge value add that we don't market. But if I work with Benson, and Benson and I have 25 properties happening somewhere in North Carolina, then on behalf of Benson, I'm gonna go take a trip out there and say, just let me go check out the portfolio, man, because now at that level, we may have started off as a third-party service provider. Now I look at it like we're partners, man. Like if I'm really managing your portfolio at that level, I need to go out there or send somebody out there just to get some eyes on it, kind of present and represent, talk to the crews, feel it, smell it, the whole nine. And then at the same time, it's like, hey, I tell them like, hey, I'll be in Mobile next month. If you're locking deals up now, send them my way so I can actually go walk them, which is always a nice refresher too, to go walk some of these deals to see if there's anything we're missing. So we're heavily involved from both sides. And a lot of people don't realize that. And that's why I always say, like, come to us, we'll help you build your portfolio and we'll help you scale. And it's not the scaling of like every company's like, I want to scale into multiple cities. Listen, we'll be that scale for you because you don't need to set up in Cincinnati. We'll get some boots on the ground for you in Cincinnati. Don't get an office there. Don't worry about that. You stay in New Jersey, right? And that's the idea.
So now that they've got the property under contract, they've started the process. You mentioned a couple of times about this software. So what does the software do? How does it facilitate a transaction? And what's like the responsibilities of, say, the project manager, the GC, and then also, the flipper themselves?
So in our system, we have a bunch of capabilities, right? So for our biggest clients where we have a lot of properties, right, I will have a set of properties that are just duplicated in the system. One's for the client and our conversations privately about money and budgets and, issues like I need the water turned on, power, whatever. And that's where the agents and architects and all of us talk at the higher level business side of things, which is private from the contractor talk. Then I just duplicate that job site and have our contractor talk. And our contractors, no matter who they are, they need to upload pictures to us on a regular basis. And our project managers facilitate that, saying, hey, I need 10 pictures tomorrow by the end of the day and 2 videos. I want to get you a draw Friday, but I need to know that we have quality control. So give me pictures Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It's on you if you don't want to do that. So we absolutely, in our agreements with contractors, say you will use our software system, whether you like it or not. If you choose not to use it, we won't use you. So again, that's a practice that we've had in our business for 2 decades. So we're literally taking our Rehab Depot business model and now providing it as a service. That's really all it is. So instead of us just doing it for ourselves for the rest of our life, we're doing it for you, which That's where this thing blew up like you wouldn't believe, because that's what I'm saying is like we control the contractors in the CRM, right? We control the contractors on the phone, right? I could literally have a conversation and be on a podcast and a webinar with you, and I can still answer calls in my software. It doesn't take but 2 sentences. Yeah, thank you for the pictures. Cool. Talk to you tomorrow. We're always engaged, and that's the key, where we try to tell people to understand, like, management really means you're always involved in the conversation. It's not like, oh, I have to physically be there. Yeah, of course you do. But there's also you're setting a standard and you're setting a tone and you're setting an expectation that if I'm asking for X, Y, and Z routinely, you're going to start doing it. You're just going to start expecting that I'm going to ask for questions. You're going to expect that Alexi's going to be requesting 50 pictures a week. So you start doing it. So it's like programming them and reprogramming your teams as long as you stay consistent. And I used to teach this. I'm like, guys, as long as you're consistent with your process, they will follow, meaning the subs and the contractors will follow. If you're not consistent, what the hell are they going to believe in you for?
Yeah. Does the software have kind of a visual representation of like the timelines, like almost like a Gantt chart, so you can see like,
so the software system that I built 3 years ago that we sold last year had all of that. The system I use now does not have any of that. However, we track things because we're on the construction side. We still track them using Gantt charts on smart sheets. Pretty easy to use. It's the same thing that we put in. We basically give to our developers. You know what I'm talking about. We just gave them the smart sheets and put this into the system and make it digitalized. That's it.
Right.
Digitize this. So we still use the same forms and we provide those when necessary, but we track the same thing. Right. So when we have a contractor that says, hey, we're managing this and we have this project, we will literally say, cool, well, now that we got you under contract, we're going to give you, your project manager is going to give you a call and we're going to go through a Gantt chart. We're going to start kind of pinpointing our milestones. So we have an idea of what to expect alongside, because for us, a lot of our investors, they just log into the system to get their updates. They really don't engage with us, which is fine. That's what they want. But for our high level clients where we have multiple projects together at the same time, we will literally have a pipeline meeting every Monday. Right. So every Monday I have 3 separate meetings with our 3 major clients where we have hundreds of properties together, just because we need to go over that stuff. So in that capacity, that's why I said, consider us like a construction company you never have, but we're also operating like as a director of construction running a division you never had. So we have to report to you and say, here's what's going on properties in Mobile, and here's what's happening on properties in Birmingham, and here's what's happening to your properties in Huntsville. And then we ask them too, like, what's in the pipeline? Like, what do you have coming? Because we need to continue growing and preparing for volume. Like, I've got a client right now who's just literally buying every other day. It's insane. God bless him, right? Him and his company. So we have to plan for that. And next year we're anticipating 200 houses just with his account alone. Okay. So I need to make sure we're ready for that. And that's okay. But that's why we facilitate these meetings, because I'm like, you're a little bit of a higher level investor than the investors here. So I need to make that not necessarily a priority. Everybody's a priority, but I need to make sure that's more of a business relationship where I'm like, we need to actually have meetings together and discuss this as a team, because you really are buying in bulk, and that's great. I mean, I've got clients who are buying portfolios of 100 properties and then sending that to us. But that's some crazy shit, right? We have to really treat this as a true business. It's a service, but for certain clients, it's truly a business-to-business relationship.
100%.
It's insane, dude. Like, I make it sound easy. It's not. I make
it sounds like it's not. It's really complicated, bro. Which is why they need you.
Separate business. It's a totally separate business that I underestimated. I thought it was a service, dude. Which I've actually, I was going to say I could, but I am doing it. I'm literally shutting down everything else that we do and focusing 100% on this call center, which I've been doing the last month, because I'm going to sell this shit in 5 years. This thing's going to be $100 million venture because it doesn't exist. And I realized that anybody who's going to do anything in construction has nothing to do with investments can use a call center for help. Like, it's a 1-800 hotline, dude. So I realized that homeowners, your wives, your brothers, your sisters, your mom, cities and states, government officials, anybody can call and say, I need another set of eyes. I need another body. Okay. Yeah. This is like the Angie's List of project management. And we could take this into other industries for project management. It could be pharmaceutical project management. It could be art project management. It could be web design project management. It could be development and app development project management. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't even have to be construction. It's just the first platform where we've got project managers and we're focusing on construction. We could project manage. I could bring in project managers who do scuba diving. I don't know. I'm just saying it's endless.
Oh yeah. Well, obviously this makes sense to start here because this is your expertise, right? The Rehab Depot. Correct. This is where you can prove the model and put the systems in place that you need, and build the softwares out and everything else that you need. But okay, so I'm progressing through the timeline here, and I know we don't have much time left, but so once they get to the point, the project's humming, they're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. There's a potential finishing of the project coming, right? And they're thinking about, you know, staging it, and they're thinking about getting this house listed on the market. Like, how does it start to wind down at the end there so that they can put this property out there and get their money back?
So we have a bunch of properties that are closing last week and this week, right? And that
Yeah.
basically looks like anything else you would do. We have a virtual punch list. We go through that with the client, or I'm sorry, we go through that with the contractors and just make sure that A, the scope of work items are done, and then B, the quality is there to the best of their ability. And then what we actually do is we don't tell them this, but we have like when the agent that's going to go sell it, right? We say, hey, do me a favor. We send them a sheet and say, here's a 10-point sheet just to look at. If you see anything out of the normal, let me know. So we have another set of eyes that goes back in and kind of does a punch list, but not really their job. But if they're going to be there setting up staging, if it's a higher level ARV, or they're going to be walking people through to sell it, we want them to give us our opinion, right? And
Sure.
they help us indirectly as part of the team set the quality standard tone for that market. So if I say, hey, the pictures look good, but I'll tell the agent real quick, I'm like, Benson, do me a favor. Go in the bathroom and just look at the grout. Is it all fucked up? The tile, I mean, the pictures look good, but are they really off? Is one eighth? Is one half an inch? I'll say, go look at the floors. Do they creak? Make sure the doors don't rub. Like, we'll ask them to do these basic things, and they're more than happy to do it. It's just having, and I've taught this my entire career, is having the acumen and the experience leads to having the confidence, and having the confidence leads to execution, right? And I have no problem delegating. So I'll say, listen, agent one, that's your property. Let me know. Do you think it's good to go? Is there anything that needs to be fixed? Are the cabinets open in the kitchen? Like, appliances plugged in? Just basic shit like that. And after a while, especially if we're doing the same client, same area, same type of properties, and it's the same agent representing that same client, they get the hang of it. And they already start doing it on their own, saying, hey, and we'll pay them $100 to go do property walks for us. I'll say, hey, I'll pay you $100 if you go out there and do a whole different check-in for me. I want you to do a whole quality control thing. Here's the scope of work. Here's where they should be. We'll do that. Like, we have no problem utilizing resources that you guys won't use or have the time to even think about using.
Oh, yeah. But agents
Like,
too, agents who are representing fix and flippers, they want a good product at the end because that represents them too. So if they're putting a property out there and the tile is all jacked up and the doors don't open, like you said, that reflects on them negatively. So they don't want to work with those people anymore. So it's a good another layer of, like you said, oversight that's completely separate from the construction project, because at the end of the day, this thing has to sell. It has to sell for what they're asking for or higher.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, we are an amazing asset to the industry now. We're a tremendous resource to anybody actually in the business, whether you're a disposition platform, whether you sell leads, whether you're the lender, whether you're the borrower, whether you're the contractor, whether you're the city. We provide a tremendous resource for everybody in the transaction to have some trust, right?
Yep.
But more importantly, our trust comes from the transparency. Everybody can see the job in our system. There's no hiding it, right? So having trust in that kind of system, I believe, is why this thing is going to scale faster than I can control it. And it's okay. I'm looking forward to that challenge. It's happening as we speak. But with that said, nothing in this world is guaranteed, especially construction. That's why, and I've always said this too, budgets are projected. Timelines are projected. They can't be actual until it's done, right? Then you figure out, okay, we budgeted 55, we finished at 61. We budgeted 6 weeks, we finished at 8 weeks. Then you do 3 of those and then do your average. Okay, what's our average budget here? Oh, it's actually 60. Okay, we got to change the way we budget then. What's our average time frame? It actually is 7 weeks. Okay, then we need an extra week on these projects. Like anything is trial and error, right? Yep. Same thing with quality controlling punch lists and closing projects out. What's working, what's not working? What are they consistently missing? And then we go, you know what? If they're consistently missing this carpentry item, maybe they just fucking suck at that. Maybe we shouldn't give that to them. Maybe we should, in the beginning, hire an actual drywall company to do the drywall. So that type of intel and that type of always quality controlling, and we call those KPIs, always quality controlling, because that's one of the major 6 KPIs, is we look at what's working and what's not working. And it's okay. And I've said this, we'll even ask the contractors too, because as contractors, we ask, like, listen, I'm going to give you $100,000 job. It looks good. This is in your wheelhouse. But let me be honest with you, Benson. What don't you like to do? What is your crew not good at? It's always tile and drywall, dude. And I tell investors, tell them blue in the face, ask your contractor what they don't want to do so that they don't do it. Because you're going to pay twice for it anyway. Then you're going to fight and not work again. So I say, cool, I'm going to remove drywall from your scope and your budget, and I'm going to remove tiling from your scope and your budget. I'll go hire those guys.
That's smart. Yeah,
It's
there's
fucking
certain
common
things they're
sense,
just
bro.
good
It's
at.
not smart. It's
You're
common
absolutely right.
sense. It's common sense, Benson. That's why I laugh at this shit, bro. I'm like, dude, it really, if you took the time, and this is why we're really another good resource is you don't have the time out, Benson, if you're dealing with the investments, you don't have the time to really study construction. We taught it for a decade. I knew that they were learning it because they thought they had to. They weren't passionate about it, which means they're only going to retain 30%, execute 10, and fail the rest of the time. So that's why I say, let us think about all the ins and outs of the process because that's where we live, right? Investing for us is so fucking easy, right? Construction, because construction to us is what we do. Now, investing to you might be easy, but it might not be as easy as you thought because construction is not your thing. So it's a nightmare. Every time you look at a deal, you're like, God, I can make 65K, but I don't like my contractor and I don't even know where to find other ones and I don't trust other ones. So you pass on the deal and another guy picks it up.
That happens every single day. I've done that personally. I almost,
yeah.
The reason why I didn't do complex fix and flips in St. Louis is because I didn't have reliable crews. That's why I didn't do it. So I did more wholesale and I switched over to a buy and hold strategy, but I passed up on some stuff that would have made me money because I just did
100%.
not feel comfortable with that whole process doing it virtually.
Dude, 100%. And it's your example is a real life, authentic example of what's happening in the industry anywhere, everywhere. I mean, it's so common. I mean, Benson, you could be one of the biggest investment companies in the world. You're not in tech. Let's say you're one of the bigger investors and you've got a COO, a CEO, and you got 3 project managers and you're in 4 cities. Just because you might feel good about what you know doesn't mean that your 3 project managers and your COO still feel confident in that role. Yeah. I can't tell you, and I'm not going to name names because I love everybody, but I can't tell you how many of our clients I deal with their COO and their COO's like, just do it, dude. They don't have the capacity, nor the wherewithal, nor the experience to want to even play. They're like, Rotty, whatever you guys need, dude, just ask me and we'll get it to you. They have been waiting to take that off their plate so they can focus on what they were hired to do in the first place, which wasn't construction. It's just part of the equation. So that's what I'm trying to say is you're 100% right about investing in St. Louis. Anybody and everybody that we have online is just more than happy to be like, just take it. And I took 3 calls today where people are calling and saying, how does it work? How does it work? And I explained to them in about 10 minutes and they're like, this is insane. I need to use you to scale. I'm like, that's why we're here. I got a guy from a big investor out of Hawaii who actually bought a house in Chicago where I'm at. And he posted it on one of Chicago real estate investor boards on Facebook and he's trying to sell it. And I'm looking at the pictures and I'm like, why are you trying to sell it? Then it dawned on me, I'm like, he lives in Hawaii. He don't know anybody besides, he forgot I was here because I know who he was. And I'm like, dude, so I actually texted him. I said, bro, what's up with your property? And he wrote back in bold letters, Rotty, I forgot. He goes, can you help me? And I'm like, I need to know the numbers. So he sent me,
he was trying to wholesale it.
He was flipping it and it's been sitting for a year because his contractor bailed on him. And I said, I know why he bailed on you because they know you're 4,000 miles away. That's why they bailed on you. And I said, give me the, I said, what neighborhood is it in? He said, South Side. I said, cool. I said, is it a big bungalow brick? He said, yeah. Haven't seen the property. This is me asking questions in the car on the way to the gym. And I said, okay. I said, what did you originally budget for? He goes, well, the guy was going to do it for $80,000 labor and I was going to put about 40,000 in materials in. And I said, pump the brakes. You're totally wrong. That's why he bailed on you. I said, there's no such thing as a rehab in the south side of Chicago for $140,000 on a brick bungalow. Those things were built in 1907. Not going to happen. I said, so tell me, why is it sitting? He goes, probably because of what you just said. And I said, well, even if we take it over, I'm going to rescope it and rebudget it for you. I go, what do you have left in your budget? He goes, 100,000. I said, it's not going to happen. I said, I promise you. That's why you're sitting on it. You need to come up with more money. Before we even gave him a budget, I told him, come up with more money. And he's like, all right. And he sent me the info. I looked it up. I smiled. I said, there's no fucking way, bro. This guy's going to need at least 160 to finish.
No way.
The dudes, because he hired contractors. And this is where our expertise comes in. The state of Illinois doesn't require a contractor to be licensed like maybe your state. The city of Chicago runs everything. It's the most corrupt city in the world. City of Chicago requires a GC license, but you don't earn it. You don't take a test. You don't study. You get insurance and you pay for it. That's it. That means you could be a GC in 3 weeks. Jessica could be a GC in 3 weeks. My neighbor could be a GC in 3 weeks. So you have yahoos trying to flip your shit. All they're doing is making a quick buck. If I know you're not living even in the states, bro.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the kind of value we bring. So again, I didn't have to look at the project. I just knew the market. I said, tell me the numbers. I'm driving going, no. And I love this dude. I said, I'll do whatever I can to help you. You know that. So we'll go look at it this week, but I'm like, it's not going to be 100. Come up with more. Start thinking about that
He
now.
probably doesn't have enough room to make the numbers work. Because if it's
His
south
goal is to
side, I
break
mean, the
even. His goal
highest
is to
ARV
break
you're going
even.
to get down there is probably like 325, depending upon what neighborhood it's in. And he probably didn't get it low enough for the numbers to make sense. So he's
You
going to have to
might
let it
even know
go.
more about the South Side of Chicago with Privy than he does, to be honest with you, because you've got properties there. So my point is that you got properties listed. So my point is like, just by understanding certain markets, like I'm literally thinking out loud. There's 2 or 3 dozen markets that I'm very good with in my head. So if you say, hey, I got a property in Jacksonville, I'm like, great. Single family? Yeah. How many square feet? 1108. Okay, cool. How many beds? 3-2. Cool. I'm like, I'm already thinking in my mind, just I need to know the size of the property to know what it needs. I'm like, where is it located? Is it near a lake? Is it in a flood zone? Then they're like, I don't know. You know these
Yeah.
things. That's how construction starts, right? I'm
Yeah. Is
looking
it
at the
stick or
risks on your
block?
behalf. So anyway, we just tell them like, what's your budget? They're like 45,000. Like you're probably pushing 65. The last 3 we did in Jacksonville are around the same size, same type of build. It was 65. Play with those numbers. Call me back if it works. You
Yeah.
know how fast that intel is in 4-minute conversation?
Oh, people need that. Way more people would get involved in construction projects if they had what you offer, right? That'll help them sleep at night, especially when they get into the deal. How many sleepless nights do contractors have, or not contractors, but fix and flippers have, because they don't know what the heck they're doing? They're all stressed out. It affects their
Well, let me
family
stop you
life.
there. Let me stop you there, not to be rude, but contractors feel that too. That's the exact
Yeah,
reason we made the jump from just GCing for a living to teaching
right.
it. I'm like, dude, your lack of knowledge and experience and process is hurting my ability to make money.
Yep.
That's the exact reason. So it's both parties. And that's why I always say, let us be that bridge so you both can sleep.
Oh
We'll
yeah.
take the bullshit. Like we're good with the bullshit. You know my temperament. I'm good with the bullshit. And my teams are just as privy to it as you
Yep.
might imagine, because they're used to the way I teach them and show them. And I would say I've got 4 powerful women, literally women, who are mothers. Some are married, some are divorced. It doesn't matter. But I'm telling you, I'm sharing like a lifestyle that they have, and they've got the bravado and the skill and the moxie to deal with guys like you and me, because I teach them behind the scenes all the time. Like, you got to understand personalities, and you got to understand that he's getting cocky with you because you know more than he does as an investor, and he knows he doesn't know as much as you. Keep staying the course, do your process, because a lot of my girls get shit. Let's be real. Like guys call and go, well, no, I think it's 50. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And then I will literally, they'll send it over to me. And I'll make the phone call to Benson. They go, Benson, my girls told you it'll be about 65. And I validate those numbers and I back them up. Let us know if you want us to take over the project. All the best. Like I will back them up and tell them like,
Sure.
they know what they're talking about. And if they don't, they'll come to me and we'll work it out together to tell you what we think we're talking about.
I love it. So for anybody listening, well, first, obviously, fix and flippers, right? If you're looking at a project, you certainly should consider talking to Rotty's team, the Rehab Depot. If you're a wholesaler and you want to get better numbers and you wanted to know like what kind of offers to write, there's a fee involved, but you should definitely talk with Rotty's team. I can see that being a huge benefit. I don't know how many wholesalers I talk to, fix and flippers, who just don't know how to put together good scope of work, construction budgets. And so they end up just like either estimating or lowballing or not taking action at all. So definitely reach out to Roddy's team. So I'm sure you're going to give me a link here that I can send people to.
100%. That link,
So
I mean,
we
you
will
tell me,
put that
tell me
link
when you're
in
ready.
the video description. We'll put it there so you guys can go check out Roddy's team, learn more about their processes. But I guarantee you, all the stuff that we're talking about, so much of it you don't learn until it's too late. And so you make an offer, you get a property under contract, your earnest money's already involved, you under budget for the thing, and now you're in it. It's going to be the same situation that Ryan's friend from Hawaii is in right now. He got a
Well,
bad
let me add to that.
budget.
I appreciate all that, Benson. Let me add to that.
Yeah.
We do project manage single family, multifamily, new construction, new land development. So, and we do commercial, right? We've done hotels for a long time as well known. We posted about that for a long time. Our call center and our project managers are well versed at different levels to handle different types of assets, right? But the reality of it all is, A, get your budget, walk away, put it under contract. B, we'll take care of all the subs and hiring and the terminating and all that good stuff. C, we'll manage it virtually. You'll be in the software system. We'll close it, manage it, on to the next one. You can send us so many properties and scale your business over and over again. Like I said, I've got clients that are sending me properties every day, 3 times a day. They take one each one. So my point is, we're a resource now. Fill out the form, go to the website, rottyvirtualpm.com, rottyvirtualpm.com, or reach out to Benson, right? Benson's got his own code, right? So my point is, reach out to Benson. We have it all set up. Anything you guys need, we're here to help.
Awesome, man. Well, I super appreciate you. This is so much needed in the industry.
Thank you.
It's not even funny how important this is. So you guys make sure you look into this further. If you're doing anything having to do with construction, or if you're a lender, if you're a real estate agent, if you're a wholesaler, like this is all stuff that will help you make better decisions. Rotty, appreciate your time, bro. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of your day to come hang out with us and educate our group.
Sure.
So much more here we could dig into, but appreciate you jumping on.
Thanks for having me, dude. Appreciate you.
All right, bro. We'll talk to you later. Everybody have a great day.